This is a TalkStation original podcast.
North Carolina Fisheries Association, Director of Government Affairs. How long have you been doing that, and what did you learn over that period of time?
I started in 1987.
Whoa.
And just 38 years ago, almost. August 1st would be 38 years. I started out within CFA as executive director, and after 10 years, they had a reorganization, and then I was president and stepped down for a while, and then now Glenn Skinner, of course, is the executive director, and I was a director of government affairs, meaning lobbyist. So I submitted my resignation, 2-3 weeks ago, and it wasn't really abrupt. I mean, Glenn Skinner and NCFA president of the board, Brent Fulcher, they were aware of the situation and knew it would be coming at one point. But I got up at 3 a.m. one morning, and at 4 a.m. I started typing an email to some legislators, actually coastal legislators. The more I typed it about a certain bill that eventually passed the House, but at that time it wasn't a good bill when I was looking at it. And the more I typed it, the more aggravated I got. And before I finished it, Pam got awake, and my wife of 56 years has Alzheimer's. And when she gets awake, it's a 2-hour drill, various things, breakfast and meds and all that stuff. And I found myself taking out my aggravation at the politicians on my wife. Not physically, I mean, being short with her instead of saying, no, honey. I said, no, And one of the worst things you can do is raise your voice. Anyway, after that all settled down, I thought, this ain't right. So a couple hours later, I called Glenn, said, I'm done. Wow. I just can't do this anymore. Not going to Raleigh. I don't want to go to Raleigh. I mean, again, it didn't surprise me, but I just need to take care of my wife.
And in the process, take care of yourself, because you, in a lot of ways, you are doing both. And we won't get into that aspect of it, but I fully appreciate where you're coming from in that regard. And after 38 years, and that leads to the next question. It's been an uphill battle. Is the incline getting steeper, in your opinion, especially in light of the frustration that you were experiencing at 3 o'clock in the morning?
Well, it's always been an uphill battle, but I mean, it's not just it's a working person's. I want to tend to say it's a working man's issue.
Right.
That's but sexist. Anybody that works with their hands is under the gun. It's just the way it is today. Kids don't want to do that for the most part. They want to do software, they want to do computer stuff and all that. But the other thing is, Americans might think they have a soft spot in their heart for the working class. But really, in reality, they don't necessarily. And that was my frustrations, my Popeye moment with the House. And I only say the House because that's where that bill was. And I eventually sent a note to all the Republicans in the House, or coastal Republicans, I should say. And the reason I did that is because I've always been I stepped down from NCFA, so this was a personal thing. I've always been a Republican. I'm a former chair of the Craven County GOP. I was named to the GOP Hall of Fame, for whatever that's worth. I've always been pretty conservative, to the right of Jesse Helms is what I claim. But, what I said was, what is it with you people? Now, keep in mind, coastal Republicans are good friends of mine. So it was like writing an email to family. What's up with you people? Why did you sign on to this bill? It's a bad bill. It was written poorly. It helps recreational fishermen for sure, and it should. It should help recreation, but it does nothing. Indeed, might be harmful to commercial fishing. Why don't you folks care about the working class? That was my email to them. And the one that really picked up on it was Celeste Cairns. Celeste had her name on the bill. She took it off fairly promptly. She wrote a letter to the main sponsor and said she could not support the bill, and why, unless they also, she stressed taking care of recreational fishermen, but also it needs to include commercial. And she sent that email to leadership, and it got legs. And then Representative Keith Kidwell used that as kind of the impetus to talk to the main sponsor, Representative Frank Eiler from Brunswick County, and things started happening. And I just got frustrated because Glenn and I and Thomas were going to Raleigh and talking. This is what you need to do. We had the language. We had amendments. We had all the language you needed, and it wasn't happening until Celeste got involved, and then it happened.
That's right.
Now the battle is, and then when it did pass, geez, almost all the Democrats voted against it.
Really?
Which, again, I have to ask them, why are you against the working class? And that email is going to go out this week, even though it passed the House. I still have to ask those that voted against it. Now, I can say, because she put it out in an email, Pricey Harrison, who has ties to Carteret County,
right?
She puts out a weekly update, from her perspective, which is very interesting. And she put the reason was it bypasses the process and puts it into the political realm, which is true. But what are you going to do when you're under the gun? The fishing industry is in terrible condition. The commission the decisions they make are terrible for both recreational and commercial, but mostly commercial. So, you just get to that point in time where I think I can maybe be more effective as an individual because I can be partisan.
Right.
I can't be partisan with NCFA. I mean, people knew my political stripes because I didn't hide it, but at the same time, you have to be very careful. And I have good friends on the Democrat side, so I'm going to write them a very blunt note as well and say, hey, commercial fishing industry, needs help.
Over those 38 years of working with the Fisheries Association, has it improved in any way? I think I know the answer, but I'd be interested in your observation.
Well, it'd be kind of hard-pressed to figure it out. I mean, I'm a born optimist. I mean, there's always a bright spot, and you like to believe that the Lord's will is working itself out some way. But there have been some bright spots, and when I started with NCFA, the entire budget was $60,000 a year, and that was 15 of that, or 1/4 of it, was government money. It was pork barrel money.
Uh-huh.
And when I interviewed for the job, I told them, I said, if you want pork barrel money to continue to come into the budget, don't hire me, because I don't believe in it. And Cheryl Styron, who was mayor of Oriental at that time, and from Garland Holzer Seafood in Oriental, he said, well, Jerry, what are we going to do if we don't accept that money and we have to close the doors? I said, well, Cheryl, if the fishing industry cannot see the importance of voluntarily paying dues to support their organization, then maybe the industry doesn't deserve to exist.
Wow.
It's not up to the taxpayers to keep a private industry going.
Right.
It's up to the industry. Anyway, we started on kind of shoestrings, and William Ellis Smith from Atlantic, he's the one that come up with what we dubbed the 0.5% program, and we worked on that and got it going, and that's what, I'm not going to say it saved NCFA, but it certainly helped. That's when we were able to hire people and get some stuff going, start trade winds, which has been in existence now since 1997.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a lot of positive things done, but because of the downturn in the industry, as the industry goes, so goes NCFA.
Right.
So economically speaking, NCFA's been under the gun, and it's not a pretty picture. It wouldn't be as bad if everybody would participate, but everybody doesn't.
Right. That's unfortunately typical. Jerry,
but before I lose this thought, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
But as far as the positives, keep in mind that right after the state of Florida passed a referendum banning nets,
right?
Commercial fishing was devastated. The exact same language was introduced by Billy Richardson in North Carolina. That was in the mid-'90s.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it didn't go anywhere. It died. It actually never got heard. It died in committee because we were there. Now,
right.
I don't like to get on the treetops and say NCFA was responsible for this, that, or the other, but I can tell you this. NCFA was on top of that net ban, and we stopped it in its tracks. And since then, there have been other things that have been brought up. The most frustrating part, though, in that regard, is the unwillingness of the leadership, which is Republicans on Senate and House, to even talk about fish. It's too controversial, they say. Well, okay, but they'll talk about Medicaid expansion. They'll talk about marijuana, medical marijuana. They'll talk about gambling. Like those aren't controversial at all now, are they? It's hypocritical, and I've been calling them out on it. And that's where my frustration as a Republican comes in. And, the corner offices, which is leadership, that they need, if they're concerned about the working class, you need to talk about these issues.
Right.
There are ways to solve the problem. We've been after them to get back to the Joint Legislative Commission on Seafood and Aquaculture, which is appointees from the governor, Commissioner of Agriculture, from the Senate, from the House, and then you all get together between sessions, not during session, when you have more time, and you discuss this stuff. That way, if NCFA says something that the CCA thinks is absurd, they're sitting at the table too. They can call you on it.